Um, Probably to a degree. Um, I did payroll,
Mm.
and it was done by towns, and you pretty well know by by a card who drew what, and I could watch the pay sheets from prior events and pretty well figure a pattern of what Vince's thinking was. And I could take uh, a show, and obviously if you run White Plains and you got a $20,000 house, well, there's only so much money, and you're going to pay a higher percentage. The general rule, I think, was like talent would get like 25% of whatever the the gross or net was, and smaller houses had to be a greater percentage just because you needed to make the guys weak so that the pay at the end of the week, kept peace and harmony in the crew. And the bigger the houses, like the Garden, the smaller the percentage was. The guys
Mm.
got great payoffs, but percentage of what the gross was because of the size of the venue and the size of the pay that the office was getting was a lower. So you couldn't go just by a always a percentage. You had a percentage for most of the places that you would go by, and sometimes if a house didn't do well, you had to throw that theory out the window and give the guys a decent payday, even if the office didn't make much money on a given town. It, Being a talent was the biggest thing for me, experience-wise, to enable me to do the job the way Vince wanted. And every now and then, um, it's funny. It was like I remember once with Randy Savage. It was, and I would do the pay-per-views too. And there was a pay-per-view that Randy was one of the feature matches, and I remember that in doing the payroll, I just giving you examples. I put down for Randy a payoff of like $15,000, and I would do a preliminary payroll, which Vince would look it over. Sometimes he would just okay, and other times he would look at it. And in that one particular case, he took the 15,000 that I'd given Randy because I thought that he was an important part of drawing in that house, and I think Vince cut it down to 10. So when the checks come out, Randy got the 10. He was really upset and
Mm.
wants to talk to Vince, goes to see Vince, and it's like Vince would say, "Well, I didn't really look at. I don't know what JJ was thinking when he put that down. I can understand." uh, Truth. He'd say, so I was always the yeah. So Vince would look at it and he would end up giving him, he would tell me to write Randy a check for another 5,000. So here was a house that I looked at and I thought that Randy should get 15 grand. I put 15 on the preliminary thing that went to Vince. Vince cut it line through 15 and put 10. Randy went screaming to Vince. Vince turned and said, "Give Randy 5,000 more." Back to the 15 that I'd originally put down. But
That's great.
it was like, well, I don't know what JJ was thinking. So it just is how it was, and I never took it personal. It was just the way the system was, and Vince was the final say and everything. And it would never even cross my mind to say, well, Randy, I put you down 15 originally myself, and then Vince cut it to 10. No, you can't. That's a no-win situation when you start thinking that way or manage your position in that way. it was like I put down 15, Vince reduced it to 10. Randy went screaming to Vince. Vince says, I don't know what JJ was thinking. I'll take a second look at it, talk to JJ, give him another 5,000. So I'm not going to go to Randy and say, well, Randy, I originally had you down for 15 anyway, but Vince cut it to 10. No, I'm always going to be Vince could never take the fault for anything that wasn't good and took credit for everything that was good. It just was how the system, and that was my job, and I was able to do it and never lose sleep over it or never, it just, I'm not patting myself on the back, but at that role, I just was good at it.
Vince ever like wink at you, like, hey, Randy maybe not looking wink at you, like, yeah, JJ said whatever, that it was less. So, kind of blaming you, but kind of winking at you, telling you, obviously, it's really him changing it on the guys.
No, it wasn't. And that there was never any game where, like, if the sheet came out, I put down 15, Vince cut it to 10. Randy screams at Vince. Vince meets with him, and okay, he'll have me write him another check for 5. The whole system would have tore down if I had gone to Randy and said, well, Randy, I originally had you down for that, but Vince cut it. Well, like I say, it's back to Vince is going to take credit for everything that's good, and and never takes the heat for anything that isn't. And I'm the heat-seeking missile in that job. And I understand that. And it's not personal. It's just business. And I think that's why I survived as long as I did in the industry.
It was like an understood thing that Vince gets the credit and you get the blame.
Yeah. And don't take it personal.
That is kind of a tough job if you think about it, because the guys sometimes are going to get mad at you. I mean, obviously sometimes they're going to be happy with you, but they're going to get mad at you a lot. And
it's a job that I don't think that everybody can do. And I'm fortunate that I had the confidence in my own ability, and I had the ability because I had been a talent. That was another factor. I'd been a talent for many, many years in big territories, small territories, worked on top. And so I understood the structure of the business and was able to adapt working for Vince. And I knew that under no circumstances was Vince going to take the heat for anything. That's what he's paying me for. And if talent gets mad at me, it isn't going to affect my job security because I'm doing what Vince wants me to do. And I keep my mouth shut.
Makes perfect sense. And
the thing is, it's not a perfect thing because I could do, like let's say a house that same size. If I put down 15, Vince cuts it to 10, Randy screams at Vince, Vince comes back and does 15. It's not a perfect thing. And I was right with what Vince's thinking was more often than not. A lot of times he would just initial it and then just scan over it. And other times it was like he would make a change just because, and it wasn't to make a point to me, but just he had the power to do it. And it's and it's like when something like that happened, I would never go to Randy and say, Randy, I already had you down for 15 initially, and Vince scratched it and put 10, and now you went to him and you get 5 more. Randy got his money, and there's no way that I'm ever going to go to Randy. I'm going to let Randy be mad at me for figuring that I tried to compensate him less than what he deserved, and the fact that he went to Vince and I can't tell Randy, I put you down for 15 initially. Vince cut it to 10. You went to Vince, and Vince took a second look at it and said, okay, give him 5 more. So, in other words, Vince is always going to take the credit for everything that's good, and he's never going to have any heat on him for anything that's not. That's why I'm there.